and we'll be watching later. And I'm going to mute everyone. Okay. So here we go. Again, thank you everyone for joining us on these new ceremonies that we have started doing. This is our third one, so our second full moon. The moon is really...
That's exciting.
I know.
This has been a full moon cycle since we offer this to invite people into our practice, which we've been doing for much longer. So thanks.
The topics are always things that, while in meditation, kind of come up of what is necessary at this time, what is the teaching that wants to come through from the ancestors. So we started this with grief, the idea of how we need to allow ourselves to grieve and how grief is kept in our lungs. So we were able to combine Apache teachings, Navajo teachings, of course, Mayan teachings, Olmeca teachings, with also Tibetan, a Tibetan idea and version of how the body contains different elements. And we've talked about that as well if you've taken any of my classes, and all of you have, except Phoebe. So today, as we come full moon to the cycle, we're talking about the myth of independence versus interdependence. And one of the things, as we're celebrating today, independence, what does that really mean? What does independence mean to you? If you look at just our bodies, are you independent? Are you just yourself? In many ways you are. You're also a host to over 100, let's see, I looked this up, 100 trillion microbes.
Oh my God.
100 trillion microbes. You see, Aubrey, I thought you'd enjoy this. So
pretty soon Jeff Bezos is going to have as many dollars as we have microbes.
Exactly. So imagine that.
That's scary.
So that being said, we are not independent. We could never be independent, you know, and we exist with elements that created the earth, and we're connected to that. So
it's like, what does that even mean, independent?
Exactly. So today we're challenging that idea, because today we want to move into and through the cycles of discovery, the cycles of connecting to yourself, growing, grieving, and finding new community. So I love talking about wolves. We kind of wrote a little bit about it. Rose and I, when we were living in Bolinas, California, we're a part of a wolf pack, like literally a part of a wolf pack. We walked these two amazing wolves, these black wolves, and you learn a lot about community when you walk with wolves. You can't walk wolves alone. You need at least 3 people, strong people, because if a wolf goes a little cray-cray, right, and we had them on really long leashes, the next thing you know is you're grabbing your friend who's flying off the cliff with the wolf and pulling him back to safety. So we weren't like walking on like sidewalks. We were like extreme kind of sports things. There was a time period when we weren't able to really go see the wolves, but every time that they heard us nearby, they would howl for us. Wolves never forget their pack. They never forget their community, no matter if they haven't seen them for a while. Once you're part of the pack, you're part of the pack. And each one of the people that is part of their pack help them in different ways. So this idea of the lone wolf, and we've heard it growing up, you know, it was taken by trying to usurp Native American traditions and teachings. Even the 2-wolf one was taken, which I really find funny. It's really actually Billy Graham who kind of talked about it. The Cherokee actually have a longer conversation about what's really going on. And the whole idea is that in a pack culture, when you're born into, everyone has a rule. In tribes, everyone has a rule. You know, if you look at our tribes as, okay, we might not be living in the village, and you know, that you have your curandera, you have the one who goes, you know, plants, you have the seamstress. We have that now, right? It's just now more global. There's no way that we could do anything alone. For example, making a hamburger. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I was just looking while you were talking, and I have some video. I'm going to see if there's that you can hear the audio of the wolves that we know. They were howling.
No babies.
Yeah. That was on garbage day. They howled all day on garbage day because of all the trucks coming and going for whatever reason. So yeah. What some of you, most of you don't know my background, but my undergraduate degree and a great deal of my work has actually been in design and design thinking. And this idea of the hamburger as miracle is a design thinking metaphor that for me is a perfect example of, you know, in a very tangible, practical way, like how connected we are to everything in ways that we take for granted. You know, the sesame seeds on a hamburger bun, the wheat, all the ingredients in the bun, where were those grown? Where were all of the nutrients and, you know, things that they added to the soil? Where did those come from? Who harvested that? What allowed that wheat to grow? You know, who processed it? Who ground it down? Who baked that bread? You know, how many places did it travel? And where did the sesame seeds come from? Does anybody here even know where sesame seeds are grown? Right? Where did those grow? Where did the meat come from? How many things had to go into feeding that animal? And we're vegan, we're vegetarian, but like even the vegetarian burger, like where did all of that come from? Oh my God.
And how many people were involved?
How many people, how many creatures, how many elements had to go into making that? You know, the lettuce, the tomato, the onion, the pickles, for God's sakes, they're like, you know, they're cured. Who did that? Who created that recipe? Who came up with that recipe? Whose family created that? Was that made in a lab? Did it come from somebody's family from multiple generations? There's this movie, if you've never seen it, it's called Sunshine. And it's this story about, we still have to watch this movie. You would absolutely love it. It's like a multi-generational Jewish family, in one of the treasures of the family is like this pickle recipe, you know, that gets like lost throughout the generations, right? So when people talk about, you know, being independent, I think that, you know, there's very different meanings that we have for what that really means. I personally understand the value of independence when we're talking about it today as being a value of, for me, not for everybody else who says, you know, independence, but is about a value of being free from exploitation and oppression, right? Having more freedom to make the choices that we want without being exploited and oppressed. And, you know, the independence of our country, we can kind of argue about what the real history is around that, right? But for me, that is the value. But what I see people use this value for, many people, is confusing freedom from exploitation and oppression with independence and separateness. This idea that we, you know, the myth of like American individualism, where we just like pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And I'm like, if that is the story that we're telling, what we're doing is actually completely disconnecting from gratitude, because there is literally no way to function on our own. What does that even mean? On our own. We can't survive as a human being without putting things into our body every single day: air, water, food. What is the rule of three? You can survive 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, probably a little bit longer, and 3 weeks without food. If you've ever watched that show Naked and Afraid, you'll see Deb, somebody else we know, was talking about that show, and I used to watch it, and people know this, like they understand the order of how soon you have to put things into your body, because we literally can't survive. We have to replenish our bodies with things from outside. That's how this world works, right? So, no, go ahead.
So I think what's really important is that about what you're speaking about, what we're speaking about, what we're trying to speak about today is value. Do you value not only yourself and what you bring to your community, but what your community brings to you? And making sure that we take time to value that. And one of my, with my background, as I've been taught for a very long time in First Nations studies, is, and it's really funny because I was watching a video of someone who does Yoruba practices, which are African, and I've grown up with African Cuban culture. My grandmother, curandera, and she was talking about how in Latin communities and African communities and First Nation communities, like they don't leave you alone. You might not have many things, like you might not have anything, but you have a lot of people around you, and people will be in your business. That is a very Latin, a very Native, a very, in many other cultures, they are in your business. Like you're like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, do you need help? And you're like, no, I'm good. Or like, what do you need? You need a cup of water? Just like, in your business, there's,
you have to poop or pee?
Yeah, exactly. Literally, like, what do you need? So I can give you the right toilet paper or tell you to go to the right hole, right? It's there. You never leave anyone alone. Everyone's interconnected. No one, if you're feeling depressed, they're like, let's go on a walk. What are we doing? Let's go. Which means people are in your business. I grew up with people in my business all the time. What is going on? What's happening? What are you doing? And you're like, just let me know. What are you doing? Let's do it together. Let's do this together. Let's solve this problem together. And I think it's culturally, it teaches you that value system. It might be annoying at times, but it teaches you the value system that you never are alone. You always have hands at your back. And the way that I see it is that, can we value? Yes, you have been given amazing gifts. Amazing ways to heal yourself and practices that you've learned, which are practices you have learned that have been passed down. So you're not even independent there. But can we get to that place where we have good boundaries? We've grown, created our seeds of potential, have good boundaries about our time and what we give and what we decide to give. But where we get to that point where you reach the end of yourself, your boundaries, your physical boundaries, your emotional boundaries. And you know that by reaching out and learning from someone else, being taught from someone else, whether it's just a story or being in their presence, then increases your knowledge base. When I honor you and your path and I learn from you, I honor myself. Can we reach that point of interdependence where we value everything inside? Again, we host 100 trillion microbes as we honor the relationships. And I'm not just talking about human, I'm talking about, of course, Mother Earth. And so with that, let's let that percolate as we begin the prayers, the singings, and the drumming. If you have your own instruments, go ahead and play them along if you want. Oh, she went. My drum went slack again, so we're just going to have to.
I have an idea for later about that.
So as we do that, as we begin the meditative practice, as the platica is over, let's just take time to come into our bodies. So find a comfortable space. If you can put all your if you can put your feet down and really feel all 4 points evenly, your real connection to Mother Earth as much as you can. As you breathe into this body, knowing we can only exist without breath for, that's a long time, 3 minutes. Someone must be really good and have really trained themselves.
Some people can exist even longer than that.
Yeah, those are like Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
But since I'm not a Navy SEAL, I need a lot of air. And also, let's explore this. I want you to, as you breathe, to breathe in all parts of your lungs. See if you can get into the bottom parts of your lung, the middle parts of your lungs, and even up to the top parts of your lungs. all the way, filling the back sides of your lung. Fill yourself up with breath in an honor and an acceptance of breath and our need for breath and what breath brings to us. As you keep doing that, I'm going to start calling in the 4 directions. After that, we'll ground, we'll call in the ancestors, and we will start this. Wio beata etu yo nintu kashila etu yon keloe chekia hoy chekia hoy etu yon keloe Waziatakia etu yo nintun kashila aetu yonkeloe chekia yo aetu yonkeloe We are hin beata etu yo nintun kashila ahetu yonkeloe chekia yo ahetu yonkeloe Itokagatsa etu yo nintun kashila etu yonkeloe chekia yo etu yonkeloe Wankantakia etu yo wakan katanka hesia yonkeloe chekia yo etu yonkeloe Makantakia etu yo ninkun shakuya hechie yonkeloe chekia yo yago bonton yonkeloe We have just come from the direction of the east where we planted our seeds of potential, those seeds of potential that our ancestors reminded us, implanted in our bones and in our marrow. So as we thank the east for those seeds, we thank the north. Each direction is interdependent. We are interdependent. We thank the ancestors for allowing us to dream and reminding us who we are and where we come from. And I'm not just speaking of human ancestors, I'm speaking of the trees and the trees' families that show us about interconnection. I'm speaking about the interconnection that they have with themselves in the mycelium group, with the bacteria in the soil and everything underneath, as earth is decayed and decomposing and renewing all the time. The cycle of life and death in one place, as you plant your feet down on the earth. We're planting ourselves as we ask Mother Earth for a root necessary for this meditation, to ground us, to protect us, to send us unconditional love, acceptance of ourselves and of our community. For when we love ourselves, we love all parts that make up this self, including our community. As a soil teaches us of how all things are formed, I'd like to call in the ancestors. I'd like to honor the direction of the South, which is the direction of transformation. In the Hopi tradition, and in many traditions, snake is part of this. Snake is about transformation and change, of changing your skin. I'd like to call upon Wolf, who usually sits in the West with Bear, who leads us through our shadow, to call in our wolf pack, because as we change and as we grow, sometimes that wolf pack needs to change. There's this saying that comes up of growing apart. And sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes we need to grow apart from things and from situations that no longer serve us and find a new pack. Because maybe the value set in that pack was not equal. That value set of who you are was not allowed. As I call upon the stone people to create a boundary for us today, to teach us about boundaries and about good ways. Even the stone people change. They just take a lot longer time. Stone people can remind us how change can happen slowly. As I call upon fire, the element of the South that teaches how change can be quick, fast. Fire is also interdependent. It needs fuel. It needs air. As all of these things are starting to come into the circle and to connect, please bring yourselves to the circle. And your 100 trillion microbes and your stories, and your ancestors and your guides, all are welcome here. And as we do that, I have an Apache leader coming forward. It's very loud, so I'm gonna share with you something that is not shared very often. Grandmother Meche, in the tradition of the Moonwalker, one of the lineage holders, who has now started appearing to people who are not First Nation, and so that's probably why she is here. Grandmother Meche wants to envision, for all of us to envision, us sitting by this fire. And she gives us a pot, each one of us, to put on the fire. Don't worry, there's room for all these pots. And she wants you to make soup today. And this pot is your vessel, your body. How was that clay formed? By hands, by mud, by earth, by microbes. Feel that pot, your vessel, your clay, your earth, your soil be formed. You can be any shape of a pot that you want, knowing that you share all things with Mother Earth, knowing that you were cured in a fire and that you can sit on a fire because you were made in fire. And as we call upon the element of water, the direction of the east, to fill these pots up, I want you to fill and feel the water in your body. The oceans and the streams. Her body is made up of 60 to 85% water, depending on your age. Feel that water. As you feel that water, I want you to tap into your vascular system. How just like tree branches, it spreads around your body. We are trees and we learn from trees how to move blood and nutrients and things. And then look at your nervous system, how it's shaped as well, like root systems and branches. We are trees again, and microbes and mushrooms, and oxygen and carbon dioxide and air and water and nitrogen. As you're starting to feel into all of these things, all of these ways that move information and water and pulses that keep us going, see how that water in your pot fills up, how you fill up. I'm sure you remember that book, Stone Soup. So let us put stones in the stone people in this pot as we remember the minerals that we are made in. And let the roots and branches of who we are be represented as roots and branches. As you put in herbs with roots, dandelions if that's what you need. Greens and trees and roots and flowers, and see how that represents your system. A few of you need corn, so make sure if you are a corn person to bring in corn to this meditation and put that in your soup. And now, based on your traditions, put the medicine necessary into this big vessel of soup that represents you. Whether you come from a Celtic background, whether you come from a Puerto Rican background, which has Afro and Cubanism as part as well sometimes. Whether you're a First Nation, whether you know it or not. Bring that medicine that you need and put it in your pot now, this pot that represents you and your vessel. And fill it up. As Grandmother Meche sings a song through me. Grandmother Meche is going to call in the moon, for we are in a full moon, and she is a moonwalker of the Apache tradition. Fill your bowls, your vessels, your pots with moonbeams as we connect to Onohe, Grandmother Moon now, who has medicine for us today, remembering us that we have become full, and our fullness comes from all of the things that have been provided for us, all the things that help us exist day to day. And with gratitude, we sing in Onohe. Onohe na we Onohe na we Onohe na we Wipolae ane Onohe Wipolae ane Onohe Wipolae ane.
Take us a little further into this meditation. A little bit deeper into our own stories and our own, what we can release around the myth of independence. Not the myth of freedom and freedom from oppression, freedom from exploitation, because those are things that we are absolutely standing for today. But of the myth of independence, the myth of separateness, which, if we think about quantum physics, is absolutely a myth. You know, it's just not real. It's only there because we think it's there. When I was meditating this morning on what to offer to all of you, and I was sort of in that place between awakeness and sleep, I just kept on getting this image and this sense of these bells, which I'm ringing for you right now. You can hear there's a lot of little bells, and they're all playing together, but you can still hear each of them individually. What I want to offer to you is a little bit of a guided question and an opportunity to release the parts of the myth of independence that don't serve you, that don't serve the collective, and that don't serve you. And part of the myth of independence is this binary decision between honoring yourself and honoring others. That we're doing one or we're doing the other. That is part of the myth of independence. That we either take care of ourselves and we lift ourselves up, or we're taking care of everybody else. We're sacrificing and giving everything away to honor everybody else and take care of their needs. And that is part of the myth, right? When we honor ourselves, when we humanize ourselves, we are helping also to humanize other people. When we recognize and honor the humanity in other people, we are humanizing and connecting to the humanity and interdependence inside of ourselves. One of the things that Marita loves to share and that came to me for this is this idea that in a number of different North American indigenous traditions, our futures are not at our fronts, they are at our backs, because we can't see behind us, right? So that instead of our future being in front of us, our futures are actually behind us. And another strong image that came through for me today for all of you is to really stop and meditate. And this is where I want to invite you in to, again, close your eyes. If you have opened your eyes and kind of reconnected to us, close your eyes or focus on something that allows you to really tune into yourself. Tune into, as Marita said, be full of yourself. I love that. I love that posting that you did. Which means see if you can become aware of yourself all the way from the center of your body, all the way out to your skin, and see if you actually, when you're thinking about it and noticing it, feel a little bit outside of your skin, right? This is something that we do as humans. We sometimes can feel extensions of ourselves. It's how we dance. It's how we drive cars. It's how we park cars. It's how we understand when we're holding something or interacting with somebody. We can suddenly sense the space that it takes up, almost like it's an extension of ourselves. So become full of yourself. Become totally aware as you can be. And again, this is just an invitation. So if you need to go a different direction, you find yourself taking a different journey, that's okay. It's welcome. But the invitation here is to become aware of all of the fullness of your body, which includes air that you're taking in from the environment at every moment, which includes all of these other tiny little organisms, like Marita was saying, which includes atoms and elements and things that have all come from the earth and the stars and the world and the universe around us. We weren't created in a snap from nothing, right? These I don't believe, these atoms came to be here from somewhere else. They have been existing for eons. And anytime you notice yourself drifting out of yourself, just follow your breath back inside yourself as you breathe in. If you can imagine while you're inside yourself that your future is behind you and your past is in front of you. First, we're going to look backwards into your past, forwards into your past. And I want you to ask yourself, are there moments in your own story when you have embraced a myth that you were totally, completely alone and independent, and you had no support? There was nothing that was helping you. There was no people, there were no, resources, there was nothing. I want you to ask yourself if that was ever a feeling that you've had. Maybe it's a feeling that you have right now because, of struggle or challenge, or really just scraping by in certain ways around the things that we have going on around in this world right now. Do you feel alone? Do you feel that you don't have any resources? Nobody watching out for you, nobody contributing to you. And have you ever felt this way? And it doesn't matter if right now your brain's trying to tell you, oh, it's not true. Is this a feeling that you've ever had? The first moment and the first step is just to acknowledge, has this felt true for you? And to welcome that moment in, welcome that feeling in. There's a reason that the myth of independence is a popular and powerful myth. There's many reasons. So welcome those moments or that part of yourself in, and acknowledge, wow, I felt incredibly, incredibly alone. I feel that nobody had my back. And whether it's because of family, intergenerational trauma, experiences at work where you felt absolutely taken advantage of and exploited and, gaslit, whether it's systemic oppression, right? Years and years of exploitation. Whether it was a moment where maybe we abandoned ourselves. Maybe we kicked ourselves out in the cold and we said, you're on your own. We hated and judged ourselves. It's okay to feel those feelings and to feel sad about those moments. And if you found that moment, I want you to now, it's okay to bring in that other voice, to bring in that voice that says, was I really alone? Did I have to grow and harvest all my own food? Did I have to grind the flour that made my bread? Did I have to sacrifice parts of my own body to put into the soil to give my food the nutrients it needed to grow? Did I have to walk everywhere that I could go? And if I walked, did I make my own shoes, or was I barefoot? Did I sew and manufacture all the clothes that I've been wearing? Did I pump my own water out of the ground? And even then, that water was giving me something. Did I float through the world disembodied, not having any needs, not having to feed myself or give myself water or food or warmth or anything? Did I live on a desert island completely alone? And even then, we are never fully independent. We are an interdependent species. It is the nature of life and the universe that we are always in relationship. Always. And human beings, we don't generate our own energy and matter from inside ourselves. We don't, even at that most basic level. So it's okay for a moment. Welcome that story in of scarcity, of independence, but now welcome in whatever aspects of support that you did actually have. And I want to share with you a particular story about this just to add to this meditation. I was challenged by somebody that I went to for healing. I have some big wounds around family. Do you have wounds around family and belonging, around community, around country, around social systems, which are really just culture and community? Do you have wounds that made you feel nobody was there for you? And I want you to ask yourself, is that really true? How can that be actually true if you are here and you are alive today? Somebody was there in some way. I want you to imagine now in front of you, representing your past, is this big, beautiful body of water. Come back into yourself a little bit if you've strayed down the thread of your own history, out into the world, thinking about all the things that have nurtured you. Come back into yourself, become full of yourself again, and I want you to look out across this body of water. The beautiful thing about water is that it carries things. It moves things. It always moves things. And it actually just started raining here right now as I'm talking. The energy of water washing things away. And I want you to offer this myth of aloneness and total independence. I want you to place it as an offering. Not your experience, not the fullness of the experience that maybe you've integrated a little bit more awareness and gratitude into right now, but just the myth. This little story, this story that at some point it gave you something and protected you in some way. The way I like to offer this myth is to actually imagine just like a little paper sailboat, some little folded paper boat, just or a leaf, something like you're a child and you're playing in the water and you're just creating a little ship out of nothing that's going to float away from you. Whether it's origami or you stick it together with little sticks and wood and leaves, it doesn't matter, whatever comes up automatically for you. You can take this little ship and set it down with great love on this body of water, whether it's a river, a lake, a stream, a little babbling stream. All you need is enough water to set this little ship down. Bless it, thank it, and allow it to drift away from you on the water. You can say goodbye to this little myth, the myth of that moment. As you watch it and say goodbye to it, you can bring your attention again to your back, to your future, to the physical back of your being and your future. I want you to imagine there, maybe if you discovered some new gratitude for all of the hands, all of the human beings and non-human beings, whether family or strangers, who in some way have helped you to survive, have helped you to thrive, have helped you to exist throughout your life, whether maybe they're guides, energies, maybe they're real people, neighbors, teachers, maybe they're people that you don't know who cooked the food that went onto your plate when you went to school as a child and you got free lunch. Maybe they're people that harvested the food. Maybe it's the dirt and the earth and Mother Earth. Maybe it's the moon, Onohe, who you looked at through your window at night, who helped you recognize things bigger than yourself. And as you're emptying this myth out into this ship, this little paper sailboat that's sailing away, I want you to feel, I would offer for you to feel the hands and energies of all those beings on your back, not weighing on you, but supporting you, reminding you that they're there, reminding you how many beings, energies, elements, how many things in this world are constantly with their hands at your back, supporting you to live, supporting you to exist, to be in the blessing of this human vessel. And I want you to take a few more breaths and become full of yourself again. And we're going to come back to the group, but I want you to stay connected to the feeling of all of those hands on your back, because at every moment, this is reality. No matter how many people we might be feeling are standing on top of us, we're feeling crushed by, at every single moment, we have countless hands at our back, and you have the ability to access that feeling, that reminder at any moment. Say a final goodbye to that little boat as it sails away. Let's take 3 deep breaths into our body.
And as we do that, we come back to the circle, to the fire pit with all our pots now simmering with all the goodness of what we've brought in from our journey, the medicine from our people. And the moon would like to offer a large, large pot in the center. And this is an opportunity for you, if you would like, to empty the contents of everything that you are, everything that you've grown into being, all your medicine, all the things inside of you, outside of you, the journey of hands behind your back, your future, your past, and empty it into this collective moon vessel. You don't have to, but if you'd like to, you can, and see how it fills up. Blessed by the moon, full of stars, and moonlight, and earth, and stones. And as we empty out, we fill up again, knowing that we are part of this big soup. see how all the parts and all the magic combine as we honor ourselves and as we honor others. We become extensions. For as I honor your truth and your walk, and I learn, I honor mine. As we start wrapping up, I'm going to sing a gratitude song. As all of this is stirring and in this pot together, the heat of the south and the fire. Tunka Shilaya, Tunka Shilaya, Pila Maya, Pila Maya, Pila Maya. Kanu pawamaya kuka pilamaya Elohe pilamaya him pilamaya pilamaya tunka shilaya pilamaya Elohe. Yeah. As we start coming back, as we thank Mother Earth, let us all give gratitude to Mother Earth for our roots, to the soil and the microbes in the soil in our bodies, to all the directions that came in to support. To Grandmother Meche, thank you so much for coming of the Moonwalker tradition. To all your people, to all your magic, to all the people in the circle, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. As we come back into each in our own individual rooms, still feel your feet planted. As you breathe into your lungs, 3 breaths, thanking your mind, thanking your body, thank you, your essence, for getting you here. As we honor everything that we've come from and the places where we're going, let us rub our hands together, bringing fire.
One of the myths of independence that you can release today is also about your self-value. As you're warming your hands, you are constantly contributing to the world, just as the world is constantly contributing to you. Yeah, get those shoulders nice and tired, get those hands nice and hot. I want you to seal in gratitude to yourself.
As we place over the heart, thank God my shoulders are hurting. Did a lot of yard work yesterday. As we seal this journey, this time, this place. Whew. In great humility with all my parts combined and with infinite gratitude, I bow to you and I thank you. Yes, and all my relations, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us today in this practice. It was so sweet to have all of you here. We will be continuing these practices on the full and new moon each month, and they are recorded. So if you can't make it in person, but you still want to have this opportunity to pause at every full and new moon and call in a teaching, call in a meditation based on what's going on in the world, we welcome you to do that. We would love to have you be a part of our little community that we are growing as we invite people into our practice.
Yeah, and if you do the Patreon, it's only like $22.50. You get both, and you have access to all of the moon practices that we've done in the past, and it will be all provided for you, as well as extra meditations and extra things to do as well. So thank you all for joining. I hope you have a beautiful day of interdependence as you celebrate your independence. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. We'll see you all very soon.